What up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome to Sunday Night Live. We're back. First, let's get rid of this ridiculous helmet. How's it going, everybody? What is happening? It is cool and rainy here in crappy southwestern Pennsylvania, as usual. But we're here. It's Sunday night. We're here to BS with you guys. And anybody got any questions about LS stuff or turbo stuff or anything like that? We'll gladly answer that stuff and help you out and do what we got to do. An update on it. My back is starting to feel better. I am probably 60%. So, I mean, for the most part, most of the pain's gone in the back. It's all on my legs. So, I see people starting to come in. How's everybody doing tonight? Live chat on it, right? Yep. How's everybody going? I don't know. I guess I could take John's advice and do it from a welding helmet, but that would be even more weird, so we probably don't want to do that. But like I said, it's Sunday night. We're here in the shop. We're doing nothing as usual. Trying to unwind, prepare for the week coming up. We got a lot planned, a lot to do. Time's ticking down. So we got to get started. I don't know why I got that out, but I guess it was funny. But yeah, other than that, things are coming along. I got the deck tore off of the trailer this week. I worked on the tune some last night on the car. It's still a little wonky, but it's getting there. The biggest thing that's, I think I left it on. I left the learn on it, and I have it set a little bit too high. And I drive the car, like I said, usually around 20 miles a day. And I think that just with that closed loop correction and the learning on, it's just weirding out on me. And my tune is out of whack because the car runs great. I'm just having like a warm start problem right now. It's fine if you shut the car off and wait 10 minutes, then the car will pretty much start back up. But if you try to just shut it off and then fire it right back up, sometimes it just acts like it's not getting enough fuel to restart. But we're getting that dialed in. I changed a few things on the laptop this morning and loaded it in there, so we're going to try it out. I noticed I was a little bit leaner than I should have been, so. But it's running good. Like I said, the trailer's tore down. We're going to get ready. We'll have some video on that. We're going to get it backed up here in the shop, get the dovetail built on it so we can start getting the new decking down. The truck's still sitting in the yard, so we got to get the ball joints done in it, get the tires on it. They do some door pins in it. It's really ugly, and I got to be an idiot to try to drive it that far, but hey, I've been an idiot before in life, so why let that stop you? Slow night out here tonight. I don't know. We may have some guests joining us in a little bit, but we'll see. We'll just sit here and see what we got to answer. What else did I want to go over real quick? Crap. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Okay, we did gather a few tires up for the burnout contest because we're just going to throw some 235s on the back in the burnout contest because we don't want to obviously do the burnout. We drive the car every day on slicks, so. But I got some 235, 75, 15s here. Get a couple sets of them mounted up on some, it's like, I don't know, the wheels I got right now, they're stock 15-inch Mopar wheels, like off of a full size, like a Diplomat or something they came off of. I think they actually come off of that, I had an 81 Cordoba was the last Chrysler Derby car we had, so I think that's what the wheels came off of. For some reason, it had 15-inch wheels on it, but So, but those bolt right on the back since we're running that 488 in there. And I said I haven't changed the bolt pattern in it, but since I'm running unilug wheels, it doesn't really matter. The only real difference I have right now is that I got to run a different size lug nut on the rear. The fronts are 7/16 and the back are 1/2" 20. So we got that. We got those tires laid out. I said everything else is laid out. I had a weird problem last night on the way home. I don't know if it was when I shot the video, I cracked the radiator cap. I don't know. I may not have sealed it back on tight. Car ran a little warmer than usual, and it was down about a quart of coolant this morning, and I noticed that. So that was probably my screw up. But hey, we screw this stuff up all the time. We're going to be getting, hopefully things work out. We should have Tommy's Civic here shortly. We can start doing some work on that, on some videos on it. That probably won't be. I think he goes to take his actual license test like in December, because Pennsylvania has that dumb rule now that you got to have your learner's permit for 6 months before you can take your test. So that gives us a little bit of time to get his car prepped and ready. I mean, the car runs. It just, I think his sister said it leaks oil and has a few other issues, but we'll get it and go over it. He wants to do some performance goodies on it. He wanted to K-swap it, but I told him that he can't K-swap it until after he's driven around with that D-Series in there for a little bit. So we'll probably put some spray on that D-Series, let him take it to the track a couple times after he gets it up and running good. You can't really kill those D-Series motors, so they're pretty good. And I think I got the head gasket swap on those D-Series down now that I can swap one in under an hour. There's just a lot of simple tricks. That would be good to show out here, because you can like zip tie the timing belt. What I'll do if I'm just going to change a head gasket, because we flipped a couple of those through the years, is zip tie the timing belt to the top pulley 3 places. Flip the head over sideways, that way you can clean it, and then you can just flip the head right back down on you, and you got a fool of taking the belt off. No, what are you doing? If you come out, you gotta make sure your volume's down so it doesn't feedback. Yeah, we're just waiting on people. I think Wilburn's Live's still going on, so it might take a couple minutes for everybody to wrap that up. They had me laughing here. They told me to put a welding helmet on. Because I just messed around. That's what I told them. I said sometimes it feels weird just to sit and talk to the camera when you're used to talking to a shop, 5, 6 people. And they were like, well, just put a helmet on. So I guess that's how they expect you to do videos. Yeah. It seems kind of weird to me. That seems more weird.
Yeah, it is more weird.
You don't have to do every video like this. I guess I could put a regular helmet on. I don't have to use a welding helmet. No. I do got a race car helmet. But yeah, that's about it. That's our week. Like I said, the trailer deck's tore apart. We're going to do a dovetail, get some stuff welded up on it, get it ready to go. Get the other stuff out of the car. I walk off here.
That's okay. There ain't nobody on here.
Huh?
There's only 2, and I'm one of them.
Yeah. Grab Amanda. Yeah, but she'll still put her phone on.
Now there's 3, someone else.
Ah, there you go. This will work better.
Yeah.
Here, we can just do the video like that.
We could. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Night Live. That's one way of doing it.
Yeah, that's a good way.
Still seems weird.
Ready to go.
Yeah. Huh? Yeah, I have no comment. Yeah. So, how's everybody doing tonight? Let's take that off. Quit being an idiot.
No, it has a race car helmet.
Sound probably good. Your sound was good, right? You heard?
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
Sounds good. Lights good.
Everything looked good.
Shop's good. It's raining outside.
That's always.
Yeah, that's all it's done is rain.
Raining. It's a little nippy out.
Yes, it's definitely cooled off
It's
out.
only like 60-some
Summer is definitely over in the Northeast.
Yeah. Summer's over.
But that's typical for our area this time of year. Usually about the second week of August, pretty much the hot weather's over.
The fair started tonight, so yeah.
What fair is starting tonight? Bullskin Fair starting tonight.
Mm-hmm.
They starting on Sunday?
It said 14.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So Bullskin will come in for a week, and then Westmoreland,
Westmoreland, and then that's it.
and then by that time it'll probably snow.
Probably.
Oh well, it happens.
It feels like it. It's cold. It's so
Yeah,
cold
it's
out.
definitely cold in the Northeast. Chilly. I mean, for me, it's cold.
Yeah.
If it ain't 80, it's cold. I should
There's
probably
only
turn that fan off because I don't want that sound in there.
There's only 68 degrees out.
Yeah, 68 degrees is not warm for summertime.
That was for the hot. It was.
Yeah, it happens.
It might
Can't
be
do
cold.
nothing about it. I hear the dog. She must not be happy that she's in the cage, but she'll be all right.
I gave her a toy.
We. What we gotta do? Oh, we got lots to do.
Yeah, you got we gotta finish get that car trailer done.
The car trailer. Oh, the
It's-
car trailer is a day, really. I mean,
Yeah, because all you do is put the boards.
Well, it needs a deck put on it.
Yeah.
It needs tires.
Yeah, but I
It
think
needs a
so.
dovetail built. A couple days on that.
Probably 2 days tops.
The truck is really what needs
Truck
rest.
needs work on.
The truck's definitely seen better days.
Oh well, yeah. Like I say,
I don't know why.
I don't know why.
I don't know what kind of person would want to run something like that over 600 miles.
It runs good though. I
Does
never
run
found
good.
it. Never
I mean,
found
it probably weighs at least 1/3 less than it did when it came from the factory because at least a third of it's probably rusted away at this point. But yeah, it's fine. We got all that to finish up. They said our LS swap's done good. It's typical. It's not broke. I'm sitting here in a shop full of LS stuff. Everywhere. We're off to a slow start.
We are.
We need some people here.
We need more people. For sure,
Yeah.
you know, we're on vacation.
I don't know, Schultz went on vacation. It probably rain all week when he's there.
Yeah. I'd say. It probably will.
So, it is what it is. What's new and exciting this week? Well, let's see. What is new and exciting this week? Nothing.
Nothing.
What's up, Longbeard? How you doing, buddy? We ain't doing a whole lot. It's off to a slow start. Like I said, I think our lives were overlapping with another life. Oh, did you cast it? Volume though. There you go. Yeah, I was gonna say if you're gonna cast, you gotta make sure that the volume's down.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we can read them comments.
It doesn't. I don't think it works on. You don't get the comments on the TV. No, you can watch it on the big screen, but you can't. You can't see the comments on the big screen. You gotta read the comments and be on the phone, on your phone, or they show up on my phone screen.
I've got it on there. Because Longbeard's on.
Yeah, we got Longbeard on. We're waiting on, like I said, everybody else.
Longbeard, work, and more work, you know.
Yeah, definitely. That's how it works. How many hours a day? Multiple hours a day. I think we work more hours than there is in the day. But now we've been really slow lately. Like I said, that just the last 2 weeks I haven't really got to accomplish much of anything. I cut that piece of angle iron out of the trailer yesterday. Just like I said, my leg's still tender enough that climbing in and out was enough. So I was like, I'll just finish it later. Yeah, 12 to 14 a day, yeah. And then that doesn't count everything else you do after that. Because you still got to have a life between that. So, and all the stuff that you got to do at home before work and after work and taking care of all that stuff. Yeah. You might get a couple hours sleep just in time to do it again for the next day. What is it? Yeah, that's about it.
Like my phone got PAE.
The because that's the name it's registered under.
Huh?
That's the name it's under.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the one your channel's under.
Oh, I thought it was under my name.
Well, you had the one it is, but
Oh, I think.
the one you had is, but that one isn't.
Yeah.
Said you can pull it down off. You don't have to have it on the big screen. You can stop casting if you want. Don't matter.
Huh?
You can stop casting to the screen if you want. It doesn't matter.
He said, hello, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because you got a long screen name.
Well, I do, don't I?
But yeah.
Mm.
What is it? It's like 46 days, I think they said, to NA Nationals.
It's ticking now.
It's going by quick.
Yeah. It is.
It seemed like the other day we had like 90 days, and now, like, so we're definitely under 50 days.
Yeah, it is.
Well, like I told John and them, we'll figure something out. We got to hitchhike. I mean, we don't got to participate. It'd be nice if we wanted to be able to get there and participate, but you know what I mean? If we got to go and spectate, the spot's already paid for, so if we just got to show up and walk around, that's what we got to do. You got to work with what you got. But yeah, we've been really just hanging in there, trying to heal up and get stuff done. I feel like I'm so far behind, I don't even know where to start. It took me a week to get the rotted deck off of the trailer, and it was pretty much falling off anyway. All I had to do was just grab it and lift up on it. That deck, I mean, it lasted about 20 years, that deck, though, and I've had the trailer for 18. I guess I can't complain about the wood on it, because I never put any kind of treatment on it or anything in that time. It was just rough cut sawmill wood. It lasted, so to lay out in the weather and be driven on and have frames loaded on and stuff drug across it and set on fire with torch and stuff, it survived well for
It did,
18 years.
Yeah.
Nice. You see, them cross members were so close, that's why I was never worried about anything falling through. I mean,
Yeah,
nothing
because
could
they're
really
close.
fall through. Everything was too close to the bottom of that trailer for a car to fall through.
Oh, dear.
Smogged your vet with no air cleaner. He said if they didn't cut out mine, cut out, what did he say? He said he smoked his vet with no air cleaner.
The dude's gonna look at my blazer to make it small or pine.
Yeah, he's in
My hookup for legal.
Yeah, he's in California. I mean, they're
Is that where
really,
he's at?
yeah, they're really ridiculous for smog stuff out there.
Well, that's cool.
I'm surprised that he asked Noah guy to get it inspected without smog without an air filter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous stuff too. Okay, if you were really concerned about saving the environment, if they were really concerned about saving the environment and it wasn't about money, they would put a tailpipe sniffer in there. They wouldn't have to lift the hood. They wouldn't have to check it for codes. They wouldn't have to do any of that. Just run the car and say, this is the number. The car can't put out this much hydrocarbon. Stick the sniffer in the tailpipe, run the car. And as long as it's under that set number, then it should be good. It shouldn't matter how you get it done, if you use fairy dust or anything, as long as the car is underneath that number. But that proves that it's not about that. It's about kickbacks and, backroom deals made with most of the people who either certify or manufacture this emissions equipment. And it's forced upon us, just another way to transfer our wealth. Yeah, they hook it up. That's what I mean. If they were really concerned about saving the environment, they would just put a sniffer on it.
They don't sniff, they just.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because a properly tuned engine, running clean and properly tuned should have no problem passing an emissions test. And it shouldn't matter. I remember years ago, it was Hot Rod Magazine did that thing where they put a sniffer on like a 68 Camaro, and if it was tuned right, it passed the test. It was clean out the tailpipe, and that was with no cats or anything, so they're not concerned about pollution, they're concerned about money. That's typical, and how they can rob us out of it and, legislate us out of our money. That's all the thing, if we tried to do half of the stuff that they do to us, we'd be under the jail. And that's just how the facts of life and how it is. But what can we do? We can't do nothing about it. All we can do is vote. But lately anymore, it doesn't matter because people will say one thing and then when they get elected, they do something completely else. So I don't know. They basically want to make criminals out of all of us just for living. But oh well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've always have said that for years. If they really was worried about if your car polluted or not, having emissions equipment shouldn't matter as long as the car meets their certification. Yeah, I know, filter with no numbers, God forbid. An air filter, like that's actually, as long as it lets enough air in for the motor to breathe, it's not really going to affect any kind of emissions. It's just, like I said, it's just dumb stuff that they push on us because they can. That's all it is, and it's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. That's for sure, because right now there is an attack on our hobby. That's for sure. And that attack's been going on our hobby. And we have to stand together. I mean, look, first they go after the big manufacturers, and then when they're done with them, then they're going to come after the little guys. Like just with this new thing, this new bill. Yeah, new bill they want to pass now. They're supposed to hire 87,000 IRS agents. Why do you need, on top of what they have, why do you need that? Because they're going after the middle class too. That's why. They don't have enough right now, and like I said, basically, in that last, the Supreme Court with West Virginia versus the EPA, that should reverse a lot of this stuff. You can only buy electric dirt bikes now. Yeah, electric dirt bike. That's California for you. I know. I seen that. What they banned, like gasoline lawnmowers and stuff too, didn't they? Did that ban go in effect yet? I heard about it. That small engines was going to be banned. I don't know what they're going to do, about generators. Yep, I know they want to make them further us. They want more money, and like I said, their insider trading that they're allowed to do and all that, we would all be criminals. And it hasn't kicked in. I know that they was going to ban gasoline lawnmowers and chainsaws and all that. I don't know. Well, I imagine California now, you're probably not allowed to cut trees down anymore. They would just rather close down all the roads in the woods and let all the underbrush build up until the whole place is a tinderbox and then go on and cry because it's on fire when a little bit of forest management could probably go a long way. But let's not do that. Let's just let it all catch on fire and then let's run around and, after it destroys everything people worked hard for, we'll run around and blame them for it anyway. But enough about the craziness. Other than that, like I said, we just got off. We had a good session. Yeah, I know you can't have water, but I mean, most Southern California anyway is technically in the middle of a desert. So I mean, I seen Lake Mead. Lake Mead's looking really bad. It's down to the point now the water level's falling so fast there. I don't know what they're going to do there. I don't see that lake ever going to be filled back up the way it was. No. I mean, we got places now where they're trying to I can't remember if it was Vermont or Massachusetts. It was a northern state though, and they literally want to outlaw wood burners. I mean, I guess they would rather have people, froze to death in the wintertime than burn wood. That's going to rot away and release the carbon that's trapped in it anyway. Mopar Den, what's up, buddy? Yeah, we're hanging out here just discussing the ridiculousness that we got to put up with every day. They said I was just telling Longbeard if they really cared about emissions and if it was about pollution, they would just do a sniffer test. They would give you a number that your car can't emit X amount of pollution, put a sniffer in it, and if it passed, it would be good. But it's not, because it shouldn't matter how you make it burn clean as long as it burns clean. But instead, we got to have, they want visual inspections of all your emissions equipment. I mean, we have counties like that here in Pennsylvania that's also too. And then we got down here like our poorer counties, they kind of let us slide with the emissions a little bit because they figure no one would have cars. But it's just a racket. It's what it always has been. Because one thing, the Earth's climate's always changed. It's changed before man was here, and it'll change long after man isn't here. That's just the nature of the game. The Earth's orbit isn't completely round. The sun's gradually getting hotter as its life cycle carries on. I mean, it's halfway through its life cycle, it's going to start getting hotter. Anything you light on fire, eventually as it burns, it's going to keep getting hotter and hotter till all the fuel there is completely on fire before it finally burns out. But we're not going to take any of that into account. We're just going to blame it on man for causing the problem. And the only reason we're doing that so we can charge them money and tax them and tell them what to do. But other than that, I guess that'll be enough for ranting on that tonight. Like I said, everybody knows we're running out of time for the No Name Nationals. We're almost there. Can't wait to see everybody there. It's going to be a fun time. If everybody's seen, most of you probably caught the content creator workshop tonight that John, Buzz, and Blake was on. It was on there for a while. It was pretty good. We learned some stuff. We learned some stuff about shorts. Anybody tuning in there, if they're still trying to get their 500, give us a shout out. We'll do what we can. We can post you on the community page and try to help you out. What was that comment?
Do you guys barbecue tri-tip in
Nah.
Pennsylvania? Or is that called thing?
What is it?
I don't know.
It didn't stay on that one.
Tri-tip.
Barbecue tri-tip, Pennsylvania, is it called? Or is it
It's the
not
thing.
Cali? That's gotta be a Cali thing, man. Definitely gotta be a Cali thing. Up here, they're busy making squirrel stew or something. We are in the mountains up here, bunch of backwards hillbillies, but I guess that's what makes us get our cars running though, because you gotta make whatever works. If you can't put a car together with a baling twine. Yeah, well, you know how us hillbillies are. Now, we do eat a lot of deer, but, it just basically walks through a yard all the time. We have a whole bunch of them here that's in the yard every day down here where the shop's at. We got at least 4 of them that literally come every afternoon. There's the buck's probably about a 6-point. His rack's getting nice. Looks like it gets bigger every time I see it. And then there's a few doe running around, belling, wearing bubble gum. Yeah. Well, we've got a little bit more sophisticated. We learned that if you take, 2 sets of jumper cables and 2 batteries, you can wire it up and burn some welding rod. I mean, it did do that before. I mean, I think I had a Suzuki Samurai, the first spring over axle I did on it. I welded the spring perches on the axle, like I said, with 2 batteries and some jumper cables and some welding rods. Yeah. Well, the deer probably left too. Politicians probably outlawed them. The deer were polluting the environment. But no, that's one thing nice about there. I said, at least where we're at here, you can pretty much walk anywhere and dig a hole in the ground. You dig it deep enough, you're going to find some water. And since we're on the side of a mountain, the water isn't super deep. So you can always get some food around here. Yeah, probably our jumper cables, but that's a true story. That happened. I had to get the spring perches welded. I took them off of originally they were on the bottom of the axle because the axles are mounted with the springs under the axle, and we went to a spring over, so we went to Tractor Supply and bought some some of the small welding rods. They were made for like the little cheap 110 welders, so they didn't need a lot of amperage to burn them. We got them and got some spring perches for a trailer, because the Samurai Axle factory isn't much bigger than a trailer tube. They're only about maybe 2 3/4 inches in diameter. So those fit perfect, and just flipped them over, welded the perches on top, then unbolted them, slid the axles underneath it, then took and made some steering linkage to work. We had to lengthen the drag link coming from the pitman arm down to the opposite side of the axle. I made it longer by about 4 inches and put a Z-bend in it. Yeah, you know, no one goes to Tractor Supply here anymore either, since we got a Rural King a few years back. So no one goes to our Tractor Supply here. Everything's not only outrageous expensive, but I think it is because you go there, there's usually about 4 or 5 employees in there just walking around doing nothing. So, I mean, I imagine their overhead's ridiculous. So everything price-wise is just going completely out of control. But Rural King's still relatively reasonable.
Yeah,
They're kind of like, you know, the Walmart of farm stuff, I guess. But I mean, it was definitely a good improvement, because Tractor Supply was really starting to get ridiculous on some of their stuff. Remember years ago, Tractor Supply used to be the place to get stuff, but it was the only place we had. We'd go buy our bulk bolts, and
yeah, but now.
I think just about every 4-wheel drive I've ever had's been painted in some form of tractor paint. Not only does it look good, but that stuff's really abrasion resistant, so when you drag it down the trees, it doesn't really, even though you crush the whole side of the body in, you don't scrape the paint off of it. So, and it used to, you get out there for $20, you could get a gallon of whatever color you want, bring it home, and mix it up in the gun with a little bit of lacquer thinner and go to town. But now, I think the last time we bought even the Rural King paint, which is a lot cheaper, it's like $50 a gallon now for that. Well, yeah, everything's out of control. What did you say? Spray paint was like $7 a can now.
Oh, it's expensive, yeah.
But $7 for a can of spray paint.
Yes.
Yeah, I never understood that either too. Well, I mean, I understand the inflation part, but I never understood that, because here's the problem though, is when the price of oil goes up, look around, 92 Blazer parts. I didn't think, well, 92, yours, that should be the last year for the old bodies, or no, 91. I think 91, his would be the next, it'd be a GMT 400 platform, 2-door. It'd be like the Tahoe, but 2-door, no. It's a full size, it'd be like a Tahoe, but a 2-door. Remember them first couple of years? There's a black one that runs around here. Man, good luck with that. I mean, what happened when scrap went up years ago, man, they crushed everything in the junkyards around here. You have a hard time finding anything unless it just recently come in. But heck, I've only seen 1 or 2 of them in the last couple of years.
East Coast Ken.
What's up, East Coast Ken?
Popping in to say hi. He'll feel like Sunday night, I'll be able to do your lives for me.
Yeah, well, we started the tradition to keep it alive after when Tony retired. We wanted to keep the lives going, so.
His Blazers at least is 37,
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
That's long,
I seen a GMT 400, that one lifted up there on Tower Road, and I noticed it's straight axle swap.
Yeah,
So I thought it was odd. Usually you see those trucks jacked up usually, but they get that IFS lift on them and everything. Yeah, you put bigger tires on them, but usually it drops all the suspension components, so there's not really much ground clearance other than the tires. But that one I seen, it had Dana 60 swapped under the front of it, so I was like, oh, cool. That's the first one I've seen running around here that's so much straight axle. I mean, you see lots of them online, and we pretty much straight axle anything that's independent front suspension around here, but we definitely, we do some off-road, and that right there, that would be a good candidate for a solid front axle and a 205, 203 doubler. Man, once you drive a truck with a 4-to-1 low range, man, You never want to go back. It is awesome, especially out there. I like to come out and hang out in Johnson Valley in the Hammers for a week. Do some four-wheeling out there. Yeah, need the conversion kit. You don't really need a kit. You can make it. Every straight axle swap we've done, whether it be a Toyota or a Nissan or the ones we do on tractors, we fabricated all the brackets here at the shop. I believe they sell a kit, but I said I would, if I was going to straight axle a GMT 400 platform, I would put an older front axle in it. I would get one because the GMT 400 platform, they changed the transfer case drops on the driver's side. And the older the square body stuff, the transfer case drops on the passenger side. So what I would do if I had a GMT 400 is I would put a passenger side drop case on it because they kept the same bolt pattern on the transmission for the transfer case. So I would do a square body, straight front axle on leaf springs. I would probably use rear leaf springs up front. That way I get a longer spring. And then I would end up, like I said, since I had to change the transfer case anyway, I would put a 203, 205 doubler kit, which basically you take the low range box out of the full-time 203 transfer case, and it has a plate that bolts to it that lets you bolt an NP 205 case to the back of that, so you got a double low range. And you can put both cases in low, and it gives you like a 4-to-1 low range because the NP203 has a 2-to-1 low range, and the NP205 has like a 196-to-1 low range, which neither of them are super low. What's in your truck right now is like 272-to-1, but by going with a double case, then you'd end up with a 4-to-1. I said that's amazing when you got that, because it lets you put all your power and torque to the ground, but do it at such low wheel speed, it just makes it nice, especially where you live, being you have a lot of rock crawling and stuff out there. See, around here, full-size trucks don't make good four-wheeling rigs because everything's just too tight, or woods are too tight, and we just keep the full-size trucks to haul the stuff to the woods, and we all run mini trucks, or like you said, trackers, Suzuki Sidekicks and Samurais. The Toyota pickup around here is probably about the best length wheelbase. You know, the old school Jeeps when they were narrow. Yeah, desert sand. And there you go. You could just put turbo LS in that thing though and send it then. Just modify that independent with some coilovers and make it long travel. It'd be a pretty wicked ride. You can launch it off of dunes, about 800 horsepower. Yeah, you got around here, it's all forest and muddy technical stuff. Even our rocks are covered in slime and water because it's always wet and miserable here. I mean, I might have a couple shorts on there of the tractor where we go. We go to a place about 5 miles down the road. It's called the Falls. It's got a lot of holes down there that through the years, depending on how people's been in and out of them, sometimes they're impassable. Sometimes you can make them through them. I think for right now, last time we were down there, D9 looked pretty much impassable. Because what happens is just the trucks get in there and then they get stuck and they dig it out. That's right, Smogin, yeah. I forget, you remember. But I'm thinking if it was an off-road truck, yeah. I think though, I know in California they do straight axles on Toyotas and stuff, and it still passes small because you're not touching the stock motor. But I guess for sand dunes, I mean, you always put some nitrous on it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could always put some nitrous on it, send it off some dunes. If you guys watch Whistling Diesel, you see him in there. He launched that Mercedes-Benz, that Glendenwagen, the G-Wagon. He had that thing out in the desert, and he soared that thing. And then he took it up to his farm where he lived before he moved to Tennessee, and he ran it in the mud. He had his grandpapa on there pulling him out with the tractor. But I mean, that kid does some funny stuff. So we don't hate on him. We like the fact that, like I said, people got mad at him over that Ford truck that he supposedly trashed, but that truck was shot underneath. I mean, unless you wanted to put a new cab floor and stuff in it and a bed floor, it really wasn't worth anything. It looked good from the outside, but that truck was wasted. That's how these trucks end up looking here in Pennsylvania. They look good when you ride by and look at them, but then you crawl underneath and the road saw got the whole bottom rotted out of them. That, or if they've set for any time in the grass or anything, the bottom will rot out of them. But the salt kills everything up here, man. You can't, I mean, literally, you'll see cars running around 5 years old with the rockers going. I mean, I know in '98, when GM come out with that platform, within 5 years, the GMT 800 platform, within 5 years, those trucks were running around here with bedsides gone, and no rocker panels, and the cab corners gone, bottoms of the doors rotted off. I mean, like I said, I don't know what it is, but I think when they recycle steel, I think it just, I don't know if it loses corrosion resistance or what happens, but it just doesn't seem to last. All the newer vehicles, I know they make them thinner to make them lighter, but even still, they just don't seem to hold up. Because your chances of finding 50 or 60-year-old sheet metal around here and it still being somewhat intact and savable versus finding something that's 15 years old, it's not completely rotted out. That's just weird how it works, I guess. But I just don't think the new metal, when they, like I said, being thinner, and probably something to do with the amount of recycled steel. The older cars were made with virgin steel that wasn't recycled, so I think it had a little bit more corrosion resistance to it than this new stuff. I mean, I could be completely wrong with that, but it sure seems that way. That's my working theory on it anyway. Yeah, off-road stuff, Brown here's big. We did the off-road thing for probably 20 years. I don't know how many people is into the off-road stuff. We got plenty of off-road stuff. I mean, obviously, we ain't going to take an off-road vehicle. There's not going to be nothing for it in No Name Nationals, but we're into off-road stuff. Yeah, I know, barely any rain. Yeah, well, like I said, Pennsylvania, that's one of them states where they tax you road taxes and your registration fees, and all that goes to buy the salt that ruins your cars anyway. Seems legit. Thanks, Harrisburg. They've been doing it for years. I mean, I don't know. They should actually, I think one day anybody that owns a car in Pennsylvania should file a lawsuit. We should class action the state for dumping the salt on the road, but then the judge would end up throwing it out and saying it'd be a safety concern anyway, and they have to do it. I mean, so many people have all-wheel drive cars anymore and drive four-wheel drive trucks. There's really not a need. I can understand putting salt on the road when everybody was driving around in the rear-wheel drive cars, but now, like I said, front-wheel drive cars, all-wheel drive cars, four-wheel drive trucks, there's really no need to salt the roads. Plow the snow off of them. When the sun comes out, it'll melt most of it off the surface usually. And just let it go. But no, let's kill everything. That's why you don't see a lot of old stuff around here. Like the old CJs and that, they've been gone for years. It's the last time you really even seen. There's like maybe 2 or 3 CJ 5s and 7s that are still running around. I haven't seen a 87 to 95 Jeep Wrangler for, I couldn't tell you how long, because they're gone. They just rotted to nothing, and then what wasn't rotted to nothing got destroyed for cash for clunkers. Another brilliant government idea. And that's why you can't find parts for anything more than a couple years old, because all that junk. But yeah, I mean, it always gets worse. Anybody out there? Any questions about anything? We kind of specialize in pretty much off-road fabrication and the miracle that is the LS engine that we were blessed with. And fortunately, because that's the one good thing about the Subaru. What are you taking? Yeah, the Subarus go good off road. They just don't have no ground clearance. That was always our biggest issue around here. They go good in the snow, but once the snow got so deep, you end up high centered in the snow. But I imagine a Subaru with some power, you had some wider tires on it, you could stay on top of the dunes. It could probably work. I don't see why it wouldn't work. I mean, buggy like a rail buggy with a with a Subaru motor would be kind of cool. The Subaru motor is definitely way more efficient than the old air-cooled VW motors. You can build them, but even built, they're not near as efficient as the Subaru stuff. So, but yeah, I mean that would be all right. But the trucks rot around here so fast. You said there's LS motors. You can't throw a stone without hitting an LS motor around here. Like I said, the average price for an LS motor around here with a harness is about $250. 5.3s all day for $250. I could take that and fill a truckload of them. Yeah, well, I think you got her beating the Blazer. Blazer might have a smidge more ground clearance and definitely has more torque. That'd be fun though. I mean, I guess she wouldn't be too happy with you if she did follow you and she tears it up, because you know somehow with a woman she'll end up saying it was your fault. Not anything against her, but you know women are creative enough that she's always going to blame the guy for it, even if it isn't his. So, but what are you going to do? Yeah. Yeah, seriously, dude. LS motors, no problem. I can literally, I could take my truck tomorrow and I can fill up as many as I want for $250, and he's even going to give me a computer and a harness with it. If I had a way to ship them, I guess, and save money on it, could make something off of them. But that's just what they go for around here. Like I said, well, it's because the trucks are gone. And you got a 15-year-old truck around here, it's rotted in half. And that's literally, I know most of the trucks that they're pulling the 5.3s and the 4.8s from, all them GMT 800s, the frame's all rotted in half right above the rear axle. I see them trucks. I was just looking, there was one on, it was on Marketplace yesterday. This truck looked good. It was a nice looking Chevy truck. It was like a '06 or an '07 truck, looked great. They said the frame was rotted in half.
Yeah,
And they was selling it for parts. You know what I mean?
Like
I don't know what this Taboo is. I mean, if the frame's just bad in one spot, I don't know why people don't. We back half trucks with the older stuff, and the trackers. I don't know, the coating they use on the Samurais that Suzuki put on there, the coating they put on them frames, they don't seem to rot. The frames don't. The bodies will rot off of them, but the frames last a long time. Now the tracker, that's another story. The tracker frames are prone to rotting right at the kick up underneath the rear seat is where the tracker frames are prone to rotting. But what we always did was just cut off like the last 4-foot section of frame and then just grafted a new one on. Could find a frame that wasn't rotted there, because like I said, in PA you'll find pretty much two different types of vehicles. You'll find a vehicle and the rocker panels and the quarter panels and the fenders and the doors and everything will be rotted, and it'll have holes rusted in the hood and the roof and everything else. The top of the car will be rotted and the frame will be immaculate. And then you'll find other cars that, you know, the body looks mint, thing looks, you know, like clean it up, like it just a very nice looking car, and crawl underneath it and the frame's gone. So it's just weird, but I've noticed that with a lot of vehicles through my life, always like that. And it just, I guess it is with the ones that, generally around here, the ones that rot up the sides, the rockers and stuff going, are ones that ended up setting. And the ones that the frames rotted out on are the ones that was really driven a lot in the salt. That, and you should see the trucks they use that that the township uses, like the snowplow trucks. They're even better when you see a truck that's like 3 or 4 years old and it's literally rotted away to nothing, because it spends 4 months of the year hauling around a truckload of salt. Them things really rot out fast. And then now they use this liquid stuff they're putting on there. It's like a potassium chloride that they're putting on the roads, and it's even worse because they're putting it down as a liquid, so it gets inside every seam, and every crevice underneath the thing and just eats it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. As I said, that'll just be completely rotted out. I watch them Motor Trend guys on there, like when if you're on would watch the Motor Trend channel, them guys would be like taking this Freiberger would be taking the suspension bushings out of like a World War II Jeep, and he's just cracking the nuts loose and pulling the bolts out here. And like if you're gonna do suspension bushings on a 3-year-old truck around here, you're burning them out with a torch and then pressing new ones in because it's just terrible. Until you worked on a car from the Northeast, you have no idea where you get under it and just touch it. And literally a crust of rust falls. Make sure you got safety glasses on anywhere near it, because if not, you'll be digging rust out of your eyes for 3 days. But it's just amazing. You wouldn't believe the rust. I've seen southern cars are so much nicer. When I see a car from the south, I'm just like instantly mesmerized. Like, wow, that's what the bottom of a car looks like. Because everything we have here doesn't look like a car after a couple of years. I mean, like the Cutlass has been well taken care of, and it's typical. The G bodies and the salt belt, the rear frame rails are wrought off behind the wheels, and it's not a load carrying part. It's rear of the coil spring buckets in the back, and the aftermarket sells replacement frame rails for them now to replace them. But pretty much every G body around here has either had them replaced once, at least once. The ones on the Cutlass have been replaced once. They're about due for their second replacement because they're starting to get holes in them. I mean, but like I said, they don't carry no weight back there, so they're fine. We're not worried about it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I got stories due to looking at Corvettes around here that you walk around them and look good, and like all the metal underneath the car is rotted out. There was literally that one that Capella's had, their Corvette. The body looked beautiful, but anything that was steel underneath the car was rotted and pitted and holes through it. And so Corvettes that people around here that don't know are under that impression that Corvettes don't rust. It's like, oh yeah, they rust. Just the chassis rusts out from underneath them. I've seen them already where like literally the engine cross member was rotted out from underneath Corvettes. And that happens not so much that the guys are out running them in the snow, but what happens is in the springtime when they get them cars out, if you haven't had enough rain yet to wash all the salt off of the road, and then you do have the car out and you end up driving it and it rains, now you liquefy that salt and you spray it all underneath the body. And then, and then the car ends up setting for a couple months, and that salt just has its way with it. I know you're from PA, Wendy. You know all about it. You and Dawn know all about what it does to this stuff around here. Oh, yeah. Explaining to Longbeard there in California, they don't understand rust. I laugh when these people from the South or California, when what they call rust, nothing against them, but they're like, oh, that thing's rusty. But in Pennsylvania, you pull the carpet back on a car to check the floorboard. A lot of times there's just no floor there. The only thing you're holding your feet off of the ground is the carpet. And the carpet's only there because the salt doesn't eat it. And we've dealt with that plenty of times. I've literally went and looked at cars, and as you're kneel down beside it to look underneath it, you see the carpet droop down underneath between the transmission cross member and the front of the frame. So, yeah, it's going to need floor pans. But, it's just what it is. It's kind of what sucks about it. Yeah, you can go in there with that, but it eats that inner structure so bad. The inner wheel houses, and it gets in there where where the package tray and the rear seat bulkhead, where that ties into the inner structure, especially on the older A bodies. Them cars rusted so bad there. It's a shame, especially like from like the 65 to 72 A bodies. That and the frames like to rot off on those cars too. I mean, where the rear control arms go into the frames on them older A bodies are prone to rust in PA. I've had a few of my 67 El Camino. We had to pretty much rebuild the frame where the lower control arms mounted in. But then again, I had an ADL come in and we ended up having to do the same thing on it. It's just the stuff we learned to deal with being in PA. Huh?
Come to rain again.
Yeah, it'll be alright. It's
Come to
raining.
those. It's all done.
It's raining in PA.
It's raining.
Oh well, another 2 months it'll be snowing.
Yeah. I don't want that.
No, I don't want that either.
I hate
I gotta
winter anymore.
gather firewood up yet for the year and everything.
Oh, I hate winter.
I do too. Yeah, I said I
You
gotta
won't
gather
see me
firewood
out
up.
much.
Gotta gather firewood up. I heat my house completely with wood, so
Yeah.
there's no other alternative. If you don't have firewood, you're gonna be cold.
Probably after you get back to No Names, you'll be stocking up on wood.
Probably, yeah. That'd probably be the first thing. By October, I have to because
Yeah, because it's going to be cold.
yeah, by October, it'll be probably by mid-October, it'll be cool enough at night that we'll actually have a fire in a wood burner.
Yeah,
What's up,
yeah.
man? Bad tree. No, not much, man. Just hanging out here. Trying to entertain people. Talk a little bit about what's going on, what we've been doing. Thanks for stopping in, man. We appreciate it. Yeah, that's about it. We're sitting here dreading our winter, but you're in Iowa, AJ. You're out that way. You guys get worse winters than we do. We hate it here.
Yeah, I just
I got to get ready to start cutting firewood. That's what they said. As soon as No Name's over, that'll be my thing. And start cutting more
that'll
firewood.
be your next project.
Well, I got some down over there, so I got to start.
There's some up there.
I got what's left of them
That
two big trees down here. I got to get a chain for the saw. I got them two big trees. That should be enough to get me through till like November. But then we'll get the wood gathered up. Hopefully this year we can figure it out, get some heat in the shop, better heat in the shop, so we can do some more videos out here in the shop.
Yeah, we need some heat. I wish there was a way we could put that gas in there.
I need to find one of them natural gas, the warehouse heaters, the ones that hang from the roof rafters.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
I used to see them on Craigslist all the time, but Craigslist is dead. Nobody uses Craigslist anymore.
That would be good.
And I have a problem. I don't use Facebook at all, so I rely on anybody going on Marketplace. I rely on someone else looking on there and telling me about it because I refuse to use Facebook. They censored me before, and I'm not using them. I hate the fact that if I want any information on my local racetrack, you can only find out by going on Facebook because they don't have a web page anymore. And I hate that because there's literally us out here who absolutely despise Facebook, and I refuse to use it. I mean, literally, I deleted Messenger on my phone and all that because I got tired of people trying to call me on it. I'm not gonna give Facebook any advertising dollars of any kind, so I'm not using it. They're not going to make anything off of me. They steal my information, like I said, and they censored me, and what they censored me for, they didn't even have a reason to. So,
No, there you go.
and ever since then, let's just say since January, a certain day in January that my stuff got censored, that we don't use Facebook no more, and that's the last time I've used it. I don't post to it. But it kind of limits me to classifieds because if you want to buy something, there's really nowhere else to buy anything. Craigslist. I used to love Craigslist. That was my daily routine, man. Get up and surf Craigslist for the local deals. What's going on? What we got? You know, look for boat, campers, whatever they got. Dirt bikes, jet skis, cars, trucks.
I'll find out now.
Whatever it is, just jump on Craigslist and surf through there and see what the local deals are. I used to see them heaters all the time going there for like between $50 and $150.
We need one.
Yeah, you just plumb them into gas and
Because we got gas. So
hook the electric up to them, and they just have a little 4-inch flue goes out the wall, and boom, you got heat.
we do know it's out.
Yeah, because natural gas is about the cheapest fuel source for right now. It's going to go up a little bit, but it's cheaper than everything else.
Everything's up.
Dwayne, he told me he's got a downdraft oil furnace.
Maybe.
Oh, but I know you had a late summer. I don't feel bad, Blake. Our summer's pretty much over. By the second week of August in this area, well, last night it was down to like 52 degrees. I think tonight they're forecasting to be in the 40s.
Yeah, some areas around here.
So yeah, winter or the cool weather comes quick here, man. We had a late start to summer too. It probably didn't really start warming up here till it was June before it really did. Because we was going out because we installed swimming pools. We was doing pools and we was doing liners and stuff in May, and we was having days that we was struggling because it's hard. You're not supposed to install a vinyl swimming pool liner under 65 degrees. Yeah. Yeah, that's I said. See here, it's weird. It starts getting cold at night here, and the end of August and September we start getting those cold nights, and we'll still get days where it'll go up to like 70 degrees, but then like especially like late September, early October, we'll have that big swing. You'll have a 75-degree day, and then it'll be 35 degrees at night. And then our cold, super cold weather, like by November, the average daytime high is like in the 50s, and it'll be down in the lower 30s at night. And then December, December starts out with average temperature like in the 40s. Then by the end of December, from like Christmas to the first week of February is like our coldest spot. And I mean, that's when it can get down right where you get days that don't go above freezing. We've had days literally that it's went, like our record cold was like 22 below here. I mean, I guess for Midwest guys, that's not super cold, but for us, that's cold. We've had 22 below quite a few times. I remember throwing water off of the porch, me and Tommy. The last time we had it was 20 below. Me and Tommy was throwing water off of the front porch, hot water, and it was freezing in the air. What is it? What time is it? 9 o'clock? Oh, she's off early tonight.
Just want to know where he was.
She's off early tonight. She's off early tonight. And she's off, and it's only 9:03. Usually it's 9:15 or so. They must have closed up early tonight.
She's with Jen. Jen get out of there faster too.
Yeah, Marcus takes his time.
Marcus.
But yeah, we're not looking forward to the cold here. The only good thing about the cold here, like I said, is if you can get the shop warm, that it gives you plenty of time to work on your stuff. And last year it stayed, like I said, it wasn't super cold. It stayed warm enough that we was still at the track. I think, what was it, November 6th or something was the last time we was at track. I know that was my fastest pass that day. It happened in November, and that was nice because the air temperature was nice and cool that day. The humidity was low, but they done good track prep, so the track was good and sticky. So, well, Trick Car doesn't really have traction problems. I can do two-step launches on blacktop, and it'll black track a little bit, but for the most part it hooks up. So I spent a lot of years down a suspension end, but it's mostly stock components, just modified. I mean, all I've done is I boxed the stock lower control arms. When I built the truss for the 8.8, I raised the upper control arm mounting point 2 inches to correct the G-body shuffle, and then I said I got them airbags that go inside my coil springs on there to tune it so it doesn't roll. And then on the front, I got the Calvert Racing 3-way adjustable drag shocks. That's pretty much my suspension to stock coils. But the thing will dead hook, and like I said, the worst it does on a super hot day, it'll black track. That's just because of the blacktop, gets a little slippery on a hot day because all the oil comes up to the surface. But the car doesn't do bad. But the car, I think my best 60-foot time, it's been like 1.5, 60 foot. So it's not too bad for coming off the foot brakes. I'd like to get a trans brake in the car, but I don't want to lose my automatic transmission. So my only option for a trans brake is going to be go with a 4L80. And then I'll end up with more in the transmission than I have in the whole car. So I'm really not keen to do that. I was thinking about just on a power glide with a trans brake probably wouldn't be too bad. I mean, I'd have to manually shift it, but at least I'd only have to pretty much just pull it back and shift it once every time I leave. And I drive the car a lot, so it's kind of important to me. Just like when I put this tranny together, I made sure that I kept the engine braking band in, and a lot of guys will remove it, but I always keep it in mind when I put them together because I like, especially living here in the mountain, it's nice to be able to hold the car in second gear and have it hold the car back. So when I leave my house, from where my house is to my shop, there's probably, leaving out of my house to town is probably at least 1,000 foot in elevation. Then you climb up the other side, probably back up about 800 feet. So from my shop to where I live there's probably only about a 200 foot difference above sea level, but it's just you got to get down through the valley to get to it. But yeah, I mean, other than we're getting all that stuff gathered up, I told John and them with going to No Name, I said, I don't know how we're getting there. Truthfully, right now, we're getting there, but right now my trailer's tore apart. When's the last time? I haven't driven the truck since December.
Yeah.
The pickup truck hasn't left the driveway since December. My car trailer's got the deck tore off of it right now. And our budget's extremely low, so it's definitely going to be some miracle work to make it there. We'll figure out a way to make it, but we're going to make it. When we was on here, we was talking with Longbeard about some off-road stuff. And we've been doing a lot of off-road stuff. We've done off-road stuff around here for the past 25 years. I mean, there for a while, we didn't even have any streetcar projects. We was doing all off-road stuff. Our Sunday morning church consisted of going off-road, load the trucks on the trailer, go to a local four-wheeling spot, spend the day there, and it didn't matter. We did it every day of the year. Rain, snow, heat, it didn't matter. We'd go four-wheeling. That's just how we lived. But then we decided to play with streetcars again, and here we are. It's all fun. We fabricate just about everything. I got pretty much everything here that we've done.
You got welded right there.
Everything that I build and have built for the past 20 years has been with that.
Yeah.
With a little 125, 110 flux core, and it's done everything from I couldn't tell you how many rear ends I've welded with that, how many sets of spider gears have been welded. I don't know how many winch bumpers I've built with that. I bet I've welded at least between the off-road buggies, because every time a friend of mine would buy an off-road buggy, it'd be the first thing they'd do is bring it here so we could weld the rear end in it. So between all of them, welding the rear ends in derby cars, welding rear ends for dirt track cars. This thing's probably welded at least 25 differentials. And then I've done frames on everything. Well, I did the whole tracker. I've done the entire suspension on the four-door tracker.
Yeah.
Everything, all the spring hangers.
Nothing broke.
I built scabbed the last back rear section of 4 foot of frame in there. I did all the spring hangers.
And every weld held.
All my hydraulic steering, all the brackets for it, and the brackets for my hydraulic steer are 3/8 steel. I just done well, when I get on that thick stuff, I just turn the heat all the way up and I'll do a couple passes. That's all. I'll come in and the first pass, I'll come in and undercut it to get it like a root pass in it, cut it in deep, and then I'll come back in and then I'll fill that up. And then I'll come back in, and while it's still hot, and I'll lay a pass down either side of that filler pass. It might not be pretty, but I've never had anything fail.
No.
I mean, I got Lincoln stick welder back there. It never gets used. I think I've only ever used, I think I welded, what did I welded something with it one day. I welded the fenders on the trailer because I didn't have the welder here. It was up at my buddy's garage. I was working with it up there, and I was here and I had to weld the fender on my trailer, so I ended up using a buzz box. But everything we've done, it's all been self-taught. Anytime I've ever had anything that I couldn't do, I just either, before the internet, I'd just get the book or whatever and read about it. Repair manual, the service manual. Used to hate the Chilton manual, because the Chilton manual, you'd go in there, like if you was having a transmission problem, you'd open it up, find the transmission, and the Chilton would be like, well, due to the complexity of the automatic transmission, we believe it's beyond the scope of the average home mechanic. I'm like, really? Just give me exploded diagrams. So the transmissions and stuff I had to figure out the hard way. I just had to dump them out on the floor and tear them apart. Pay attention to how they come apart and then put them back together opposite. Kind of how I started with mowers and bikes when I was a kid. And probably the first thing before I built lawnmowers, we used to build bicycles. We'd just take 3 or 4 junk bikes and just take the best parts off of all of them and build a bicycle. You have money to go buy bicycles, you just build one. And then, you need a lawnmower, you just go find one someone threw away and make it run again. And as I said, as we got older and we needed better transportation and bikes, we learned to go buy a $100 dirt bike and bring it home and fix what you could on it. Well, basically rig what you could on it, because you didn't have no money to really spend on parts. So if that means making a gasket out of an old cereal box, or, like on our old 2-strokes, if the reeds would be wore out, our trick would be just take it apart and just flip the reeds over and run them. They'd run the other way for a while. Pull the piston and rings out, and just take light sandpaper and kind of like cross-hatch the cylinder a little bit, just scuff it up a little bit, and throw it back together and get a little bit more run out of it. We always rig stuff together, we'd have our drive chain would have, 2 or 3 master links in it, because if it would stretch, you'd have to keep making it shorter. You'd tear the sprockets up when you do that, because it deals with the spring length, but as long as we could keep it moving, that's all that mattered. Then we got into cars, and I don't think I've never been, since I've been 15 years old, I've never been without a car. It might have not have had one that was running at the time, but I've never had a time in my life in the last 30 years that I've not had at least one vehicle that I haven't owned. And it's just always, we always had something, if it was rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, but I had a couple points where I would own, like, I had this cool little 74 Datsun pickup truck. That's that orange one I bought off of Kenny Bloom back in, like, 1993. I drove that truck had no brakes, drove it everywhere. Yeah. I used to, when I'd get to Connellsville, because of the steep hill coming off West Side Hill, when I'd get to the top of West Side Hill, I'd drag the tires on the curb to slow the truck down and get the truck stopped. I'd just slowly steer into the curb and drag the tires down the curb, and then I could get the truck to stop on the top when the hill was somewhat a little bit level. After I get it stopped there, I'd put the truck in reverse, and I would just feather the clutch with the tranny in reverse so I could stop at the red light at the bottom of the hill, because it come down over that hill and it crosses a main highway at the bottom. It crosses US Route 119 and Route 201 intersection there. What is it?
John said hi.
What's up, John? I'd sit there, though, with that red light on this steep hill, holding that little Datsun in reverse with the clutch halfway out, just feathering it. And I'd wait for both red lights between the one I was at and the red light the next intersection on the 119 When them would both turn green, I'd pop it out of reverse into second gear. I'd roll down through town, and then when I'd get over to the parts store, we had a Gatling's Auto Parts. It was about a half mile across town. I'd roll in there, and their parking lot was slightly uphill. So as I would roll in, I'd rev match it as I'd downshift it when I go down into the next gear. As I'd roll into their parking lot, I had it timed, and I'd kill the ignition with it in second gear, and it would just and it'd roll right up against the parking stop. And I drove that truck for months. I don't know why. We at the time, I had my Camaro that I was working on. Tad had that Camaro. We was always swapping motors in these cars. I mean, we were buying and putting together good motors back then. Transmissions we were breaking, and rear ends, and we was going to the local shopping center to the street races every Friday and Saturday night. That's where we'd spend the night. My other friend had a 72 Pontiac Ventura that we had built 350 in it. All this stuff we were working on, running around, all that. I'm like, why did we never fix the brakes on that Datsun? I mean, we never even tried to put fluid in them and bleed them. I bought the thing off a friend I went to high school with for $100 because he used it when he was working on his car. He used it just to haul the motors and stuff back and forth, and he got his car running. He's like, hey, I'll sell you that Datsun for $100. And I was like, well, we're always hauling motors and transmissions. Yeah, I'll give you $100 for it. And I drove it. Like I said, I never fixed it. I have no idea to this day, 30 years later, I don't know why we never fixed the brakes in it. It's not like it would have been that complicated. Even if we'd have just had like front or rear brakes or a parking brake or something. I mean, this truck literally had no brakes. We should drive it everywhere. And then I'd lend it to Tad, my friend, my best friend that would stay with me at the time. I'd lend it to him, and he would drive it like 4 or 5 miles down the road to his girlfriend's house and bring it back out. Talk to Tad, like, can I use? Yeah, take the truck. When he'd get down there to Carrie's house, he'd drive it from Licensing down to Sandy Holland down there in the bottom, down there where Clark's lived. Yeah. And we drove it that way. Never thought nothing of it. Just drove around. I don't know how any of us are still here. I mean, we was in that Pontiac Ventura one night, and we was racing the kid coming up 119, which is U.S. Route 119, 4-lane highway up through town here. We got out of the outskirts of town, and we was heading back towards where we live. We were going 120 miles an hour up 119 for probably at least 6 miles, and then he just lifted out of the throttle and started to slow down, and we made a right-hand turn onto the side street to take us back to our house. As soon as we turned off of there, we was going maybe 10 miles an hour because we made that 90-degree turn off the highway from when we slowed down, and then there's another 90 right behind it. As soon as we made that next 90, the driver's side front tire come off. Wow. Yeah, we was just doing 120 miles an hour and the front tire fell off after we slowed down. Wow. Oh, we would have been yard sailed up 119 if we'd have lost that wheel with 120, but it just come off. To this day, I don't know why, and me and George, there was no, George was driving. No, I was driving with George. We was in his 72 Pontiac Ventura. I like that car. That's one of my favorite cars, the ones from all the ones we had, that Ventura. And probably the one I had that I liked more was probably I had a 74 Pontiac Firebird Formula with 400 in it. That car ran good. That 400 Pontiac ran better than most of the 350s we had in the Camaros.
I like that Lamont.
Which Lamont?
That one I had. What was it, 60? What was that? That old Lamont. I kicked the window out.
One had to be 67 and older because it was square. It was the first couple years of the A-Boy, 67, 66 Lamont, 67.
I think it was 66.
You're not supposed to kick the windows out of 66 Lamont. Did it make you feel better?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
I kicked that windshield out and I felt better.
Well, I think them were mounted rubber, them ones, if it was, because I think that 67 El Camino I had, the windshield was mounted in rubber.
You wouldn't think it would break that easy.
Nah, they break. Some windshields break easy. One time I hit that windshield in that Sunbird, and it just cracked. I just barely just went like that, and the windshield went. I was like, that sucks. Yeah, Jimbo, and I'm gonna get mad and break his windshield. Well, why
That
do you
was
break?
first and last. I never broke none.
Yeah, I never.
Oh, last not to.
No, I don't break windows on purpose unless it's a derby car or something.
Not do it again.
Remember that one time that what was it? It was like at 76. Was it a Buick or Pontiac? Remember that car that Bill O'Neill, that Rusty, that blue one? Remember we was gonna make it a derby car? Remember? I was standing on the roof of it and standing on top of the roof. And I was gonna knock the back window out with a bumper jack. And I swung that bumper jack over my head like an axe. I hit that back window so hard it broke the jack head off of that bumper jack, broke off, and it didn't break that back window.
Yeah, that was that kind of. What was that, dude?
It was a Buick or a Pontiac that year, but it had the bigger back window. It was like a 76. It was the bigger one.
Yeah.
It was like the 70.
didn't
It was a 73 to 77 A body. Like I said, it was either can't remember if it was a Buick or a Pontiac that one because it was rusty.
Yeah, because he sold that other one.
It might have been Pontiac, yeah, because he had that.
He had a Buick.
Well, he had that Catalina too down there
Oh,
at that
yeah.
time. He had that 66 Catalina with 389 in it.
Yeah.
But them cars are junk because they sat down there below his house for too long, never rotted.
They rotted out.
And down in Pennsylvania, a lot of cars sat, it rots. Yeah, my dome light's working tonight, my car.
Oh, it's on.
Yeah, it ain't gonna hurt it, but it decided to work tonight. It didn't work for the last 3 or 4 nights. Huh?
I thought it was off the light.
No, that dome light didn't work for the last 3 or 4 nights, and I decided to
It
work.
decided to come on.
There was one time we was driving down, George was behind us, and he had that Escort. And we're coming down, we was coming back from the shop center. We was up there driving, or we was up there, what did we have? I think me and Tad was there. We had the Camaro or El Camino we had up there. I can't remember, but I do remember George was following us in an Escort. George had a blowed out headlight. And that's when they were doing construction up on 119, so they had one lane closed. And we're coming down through there from Walnut Hill Road. And you know how there's nothing between Walnut Hill Road and McClellantown Road. It's just that long stretch, like 2 mile stretch, black. You're just outside the city of Uniontown, so there's no lights out here. We're going down the road, probably going about 70 or so. Tad's in the passenger seat. George is behind us in an Escort with one headlight. Tad flings this McDonald's bag out the window, and it lands perfect on his one headlight. So all of a sudden, you know, it's lights out for George. He's going 70 behind us, and all of a sudden he can't see anything. You know, because the only headlight he got, this bag just landed right in front of it and completely blocked the light out. I mean, it's black. We just seen it. So he had to hurry up and slow down because it was in the Escorts. The headlights set back in. The bag wouldn't have just fell off by slowing it. He had to get out and take the bag off the light.
Oh, yeah, and
He had to slam on the brakes and pull over and take the bag off. Oh, you couldn't make that stuff up. As I said, if we would have had videotape of the stuff we did back then, but then again, if we had videotape of the stuff we did back then, they'd probably use it for evidence, and we'd probably all still be in jail. Because this stuff you could get away with back then was ridiculous. But yeah, we used to go, I mean, that was the thing. At 17, 18 years old, literally, you would take your car to the shopping center on Friday and Saturday night to race. Yeah. We'd go up there and street race. You'd break your car, and then you would spend Sunday till Friday afternoon scrounging money together to get your car fixed, to go back up and do it again. So that means you were out, you know, cutting grass or gathering cans or doing whatever you're doing, or working on other people's cars to make money to fix your car so you can go back up and break it again the next week. Blow rear end out of it or rip the transmission out of it. I wish I would have known back then about how easy these Turbo 350s are, because so many times they plagued me with problems. Back then at 16, 17, I never tore a transmission apart yet. I didn't know. And now I tear them apart. I got like 3 Turbo 350s just tore apart here in the garage. I could probably put one together almost with my eyes closed just by feel, because I've had them apart enough times. I know what goes where in them and how to set them up. Or one time I went and bought a train. That was the only thing that always sucked about buying a used automatic transmission. You was buying the proverbial pig in a poke because you didn't know what you was getting.
No.
You'd go meet somebody, buy a transmission off of them, get it home, and you didn't know till you put it in the car if it was any good. And I bought that one, the last transmission I bought, I got Uniontown. We went up there, it was cold out. This was 93, this was like around the blizzard of 93 because remember we shoveled the snow out from the side of the car so we could get underneath it to put the transmission in. The blizzard of 93 where we live, we got like 36 inches of snow here in like a 24-hour period.
We had a lot of.
But we had the car up on blocks, probably about 2.5 feet in the air. It's raining.
I told you.
But we had the car up on blocks and it was so cold out that we just left the snow piled up around it and we tunneled underneath there and we had work light under there, just like a 100-watt light bulb, so that warmed it up a little bit underneath the car. We got under there, put this transmission in that I paid $75 for this transmission back in 93. That was a lot of money for a used Turbo 350 then. Got under there, froze, put the transmission in, went down to the parts store, bought fresh fluid and everything, put it in there. All happy, fire the car up, drop it in gear, and it don't work.
We did that to that Cutlass.
Done that a lot, but now I know, now automatic transmissions are nothing.
We did it to that Cutlass.
Yeah, but I
Put
know,
transmission in it, didn't work. I had to tear it back out and put another one in.
yeah, well, it's different though. This guy, sold me one. He told me it was good.
Well, they told us it was good too, but it wasn't.
Yeah, that was the only thing, and that's one reason why I learned later on in the years is why I learned to rebuild them. That way I didn't have to worry about it. Now if I have a transmission go out, I just go online, order the kit for it.
Fix it yourself.
A lot of times, like all my Turbo 350 stuff here, I made my own like piston compressors and stuff for them. I just took a piece of like C-channel and a long nut and bolt, and I made me a couple different presses to take the snap rings out and do the pistons. You can use a 3-liter bottle. You can cut a 3-liter plastic soda bottle. You can use it for the seal installer for like the low reverse piston. That's probably the hardest one to get in on those, the low reverse piston, because it's set in the back of the case. It doesn't come out. The housing for the piston is the rear part of the case. So you got to get in there, and it's hard to get that piston set in there without cutting that seal. But we take a 3-liter bottle and you just cut a sliver of it, and you can roll it right in there and walk that seal right out of it. You can also, there's a way too, if you're ever on the side of the road, you can take just even a 20-ounce bottle, cut a sliver of plastic, and you can roll that in there to use it to take the fuel line quick disconnect. You can work it in there and unsnap that quick disconnect on like a GM or a Ford fuel line. We use soda bottle a lot of times to unsnap them. Another trick, don't try it at home. Don't do it on something you're going to drive on the road, because brakes are very, very important. But if you're ever out somewhere and you have a brake failure, say you have a wheel cylinder go out, say you have a caliper leaking, or you have like the rubber hose fails, something like that, and you don't want to hammer that line shut and destroy half of the brake system. We always had luck with taking a small nail and putting it in the end of the line that we want to block off and tighten it up against the fitting, and it'll block that circuit off, and then you'll have your other 3 wheels to work to get you home. Like I said, yeah, you shouldn't do that with brakes, but having 3-wheel brakes, knowing that, taking it very easy is better than not having no brakes at all. Another trick that's got me home a lot of times, if you have just a failed wheel cylinder or caliper, is a pair of vice grips just clipped on that rubber line going to that failed wheel cylinder or whatever, and then fill it back up, and then usually you have a full pedal and 3 brakes to get you home. Just take it easy. The last time we had the tractor out, I had that front caliper, the seal busted in it, and I lost all the brakes. It drained the master cylinder real quick. But that happens too. We went for a ride because it's not bad. The tractor has a 100-to-1 gear reduction when it's in low range and in first gear, but we was just trying to drive it home slow because we didn't trailer it down that week. And like I said, we was coming from about 4 miles away. On the last hill coming home, I stepped on the brake pedal and the front caliper busted. And it's got them big 4-piston Toyota calipers on there because it's got a Toyota front axle in it. It drained the reservoir in that little tracker master cylinder in about 3 applications of brake, and we was down to nothing. Started down the hill, it popped out of gear. So here we are going way faster than you normally drive the tracker. I get the full hydraulic steering on, and I'm hoping, please don't start wobbling, because it'll death wobble sometimes with that full hydro if you get going too fast and hit a bump just right. But it's an off-road buggy. We very rarely, when we do drive it on the road, we don't drive it over 10 or 15 miles an hour. And here we go tearing down this hill. I knew we had the uphill that we would stop. Didn't want to steer it in the ditch because I got 4 people in there and don't want to take a chance of rolling it over. Yeah, it was scary, but we got it.
Ain't nobody out there.
Huh?
Ain't there nobody out there?
There's 5 people on.
No.
We got 5 viewers listening to us ramble about stupid stuff.
Oh. Listening to it.
Don't listen to my dumb stories about all the dumb stuff, and we're here. We was out here one night, and I know probably everybody on here's heard how to use ether to put a tire on the bead. Now you can use ether. I was going to do a video because you can use a little bit of gasoline if you use it very sparsely. Sprinkle a little bit of gas in there. Kick the tire a couple times, let the vapors fill up, and use it to seat the bead. We've done it. Now I have a friend of mine who's very super safety conscious. Like if we were out somewhere hanging out in the woods and we had a little bonfire and we would let the fire burn out and go home, he would come back 2 hours later just to check and make sure that it didn't restart up and catch anything on fire. He's really safety conscious like this. He's got a full-size Dodge truck. He had a set of brand new Yokohama 35-inch mud tires, and he brought them out the shop for us to mount them on the wheels. So he had like a 10-inch wheel on there, and we was having trouble getting one bead to seat, because that's when we had that little air compressor. We didn't have a big blast for it to seat the bead. So look around, we got no starting fluid or no brake clean. Okay, I was like, well, I'm going to go outside, Bob. I said, I'm going to look for a little bit of gasoline. And went to check the mower cans for gas. I said, so we'll use a little bit of gas to seat this bead. I'm outside digging around. I hear him yell for him. He's like, hey, man, I got it. I got something. So I come back in. I was like, all right, Bob. I was like, what'd you do? He's like, I just put a little bit of propane because I use propane with my oxygen acetylene torches. Instead, I use oxygen and propane. I had a propane regulator, and I always use a propane tip because I hate the sootiness that the acetylene leaves, and it's cheaper to use propane. Works just as good. So he said he put a little bit of propane in there, and like I said, since this kid's super safety conscious, I didn't think nothing of it. It's like, oh, all right, he's just put very little in. I'll probably try to light it. It probably won't even have enough pressure to seat the bead. I reach down, strike the lighter beside it. Boom! Tire explodes. Remember, witness rattle?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody comes running out here in the garage. You can't see anything. The whole garage, it's just every bit of dust in the whole garage is in the air from the explosion of this tire. Here, I don't know how much propane he put in it, but he put enough in it that it literally shredded that tire. That tire looked like it had a blowout at 80 miles an hour. That was probably the closest we ever come to dying putting air in a tire. But yeah, that's crazy. It's happened here at this shop.
There's always stuff happened here.
Huh?
There's always stuff happening here.
Oh, there was always something happening here.
Back in the day.
We was always welding a Toyota that was broken in half, welding it back together. I couldn't tell you how many Toyota pickup truck frames I welded together through the years, welding scrap steel and back on them and making new beds and making new frames. We built ones, frames were too bad, we would cut them off and just take like water pipe and tube chassis them. Oh man, we built a little bit of everything back in the day. I had bad luck. last January, I had the car in here When I replaced the broken pistons from when we went to the track and broke the pistons, when I replaced them, I had the car up. I stuck the floor jack underneath it, jacked it up off of the jack stands because I just got done putting the oil pan and stuff on it. Was getting ready to set the car down on the ground to start it up, back it out of the garage. Had my fresh oil in the pan, everything. Jacked it up, put the jack underneath the engine cross member, jacked the thing up, pulled the two jack stands out, walked back around to the front, started lowering the front floor jack, and for some reason the floor jack like kicked just enough that it slipped off of the engine cross member as it started on the way down, and it dropped and literally punched through the bottom of the oil pan.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
The car fell, and I'm just like, okay, it fell, no big deal. Car dropped off onto its tires. I wasn't under it. Nobody was under it. Nobody got hurt. That sucks when they fall, but it's normal. Didn't think anything got broke. I'm standing there getting ready to pull the floor jack out from underneath the car, and I see this puddle of oil, giant puddle of oil come running out from underneath the car. I'm like, what? So I thought, okay, it punched a hole in the oil filter. I crawl underneath there. Nope, it didn't. I got the pan right here.
Oh, yeah,
Is that one it?
probably.
That might be. I don't think that one is. That's the one where I hit the road.
Oh,
The other one's here, it's got a bigger hole blown in it. That was from hitting the road. That's what happens. That's the only thing you got to be careful about running the truck pan and the G body. If the other pan is over there, I can't get it right now. It's on that 5.3. That's the only problem with running the truck pan and the G bodies. If the G body's low, if you have it lower than stock and you have weak shocks on it, you can bottom it out and break the oil pan because the oil pan hangs down below the engine cross member about 2 inches. But since I put the 9010s on the front, it doesn't do that anymore. It doesn't matter how hard you hit a bump, the front end won't dip. So it kind of saves that problem. Is there a pony?
no,
I need a drink.
I'll get it. I'm gonna let you know. I ain't heard from her yet.
Yeah, she should be here unless she wasn't done yet. She just called to see what we were doing. But yeah, I mean, we've done a little bit of everything here and there. The last time I said when I broke the car at the track last November on was it 1070 pass or whatever, when we broke it on that. When I broke the pistons, it blowed the dipstick out and blowed oil out of the breather and oiled the tires down at 120 miles an hour. So, I mean, that was a scary moment. Skating around on the big end of the track with oil all over the tires, trying to figure out what's going on. Like, what was it there? I have it. It was November 6, 2021. Yeah, 1071 at 118 miles an hour, we put oil on the back tires. And we skated down the track. We're lucky we didn't put it in the wall that day. I need to get, actually, I should put an engine diaper on the thing when I'm going to lean on it that hard. Even get some pig mat or whatever and just roll up under there and zip tie it to catch some of the oil. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that. Time is it now? 9:30?
It's 9:38. Where is she at?
I'm like, thinking, attention all campers, it's now 9:30. Anybody born in the 70s or 80s will get that reference. If they're born in the 90s, they won't get it. From Meatballs.
Yeah.
Attention all campers, it's now 9:30. But yeah, other than that, we've been trying to, want to get some video. These guys out here, they're all out running around talking smack that they want to outrun a car, local guys, but I never seem to see them anywhere. I go out and drive around and look for them, I never see nobody out. They come on there and they call me out. I mean, no, my car ain't fast, my car's slow. I'll be the first person to tell you my car is slow, but I do live with a lot of crap to daily drive my car, so I mean, everybody got their own stuff they got to put up with. I put up with a lot to drive my car on the road. Put up with the fact that, like the next town over is the only town that sells the 85. So I got that to deal with. I put around with it. I got that small fuel cell in there right now. I deal with that. That pretty much every time you go anywhere, you got to top the tank off. So you got to keep cans of it at the shop. Uh, what else I put up with? Put up with slicks on it. I got more miles in that car with slicks on the back of it than I do with regular tires or tread. I think it's going to do good in the burnout contest. I'm going to take 2 junk tires down there and I'm just going to, until they come apart. I'll probably have the quarter panels beat off of it when the tires come apart. Yeah. Oh well, they make new quarter panels every day. Weld them back on. Because that thing does hoon good. It does good donuts. It does really good donuts. When it's got regular tires on. When you ain't got the slicks on, you can do donuts and it's crazy donuts. It was fun when it had the 273 gears in it. When it made almost the power that it makes now, but I had that 273 rear end in it. It was fun because you could do such smoky burnouts because you could do second gear pulls and you'd have 80-mile-an-hour wheel speed in second gear, and I mean white smoke would just roll when you got that kind of wheel speed. I just go up to one guy up around the hill that doesn't like us. We just go over there and just do a burnout up around his whole road.
Where's she at?
He'd come out and see pausey marks going up the hill around his house, complain about it.
What'd you say? Always, but where's she at?
If she's there, she might be on her way. Man, it's getting cold out.
Yeah.
I'm actually starting to get chilly.
Yeah, it is.
We're going to have to start building a fire here to have these lives. We're going to have to start doing them inside here in a couple more weeks. Not to do them in the house. Yeah, but other than that, it's good to go. Yeah, oh boy. I guess other than that, that's about what we need to say. No one really got much to talk about. It's all good. I appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Listening to some of our dumb stories. Said, yeah, I'd like to get some more people. Like I said, I'd like to help some people with some LS stuff. Get some LS guys on here that want to ask some LS questions or some Holly, EFI questions, or even some Holly carburetor questions, or some converter questions, or some rear gear questions, or some 4x4 questions, or what?
Mopar Dan. I have a morning appointment to get to.
All right, Mopar Dan.
Get my 72. What?
See, that ain't popped up on mine. I'm not getting it.
Tomorrow with a power cutting bag.
All right, Mopar Dan. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you very much. You were one of my true blue subscribers, man. I honestly appreciate it. Thank you. You have a good night, man. Have a good week. And we'll talk to you later. Thank you. As for everybody else, like I said, anybody on there, if you're just checking out this and you didn't catch the live, just know we're going to come on here every Sunday and ramble a little bit. Like I said, if you need questions about four-wheel drive stuff, about streetcar stuff, about anything I've probably done in the last 32 years, I've probably either dabbled with it somewhat because we've had a little bit of everything. I mean, you come on here and ask me why your two-stroke dirt bike isn't running, I can probably tell you why. Yep. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy. Good night. But yeah, I can tell you probably why your dirt bike doesn't run, or why your four-wheeler's overheating, or why your jet ski's spraying, not putting on as much power as it used to. I can tell you that most boat motors or normal rotation car motors, unless the boat has two motors, that's the only way you're going to run into a reverse rotation marine motor is in a dual motor application. And most boats that has a single motor, it's always going to be a standard rotation car motor because the prop's always going to turn that direction. The only reason you get that reverse rotation of a boat motor is because when it's a twin engine, you got counter rotating props. that keeps the boat from wanting to go in a circle. So, I mean, we can answer boat questions. We've done lots of boats and marine stuff. We'll answer four-wheeler questions. Heck, you come on in and ask me why your ride mower's making a funny noise or slipping a belt, man. Said I've been working on everything and I've taken everything apart. I was wiring car stereos up at 8 years old, figuring out the wiring on them, and that was before it was standardized like it is now. And that I was building lawnmowers and bicycles by 12, and by 14 I was working on cars, and I'm still working on cars and trucks. Learned how to fabricate, learned how to weld, learned how to do everything. So if there's anything I can do to help anybody, answer any questions, or help our project, just, ask. Like I said, if you're catching this and you're not catching it live, you're watching a replay, pop in next Sunday at 8 o'clock and stump me with your question. Till then, guys, I appreciate all the support. We'll talk to you next week at 8 o'clock. All right, good night, guys. Have a good one.